Game of the year, more like nut of the century. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Kids today and only today. That's right, I think I am ready to give you my top 5 games of the year. I can't believe we're here. We're at the end of the year, right? I just thought, I think I played everything I want to play. There's still some stuff I wish I'd beaten. Like, I wish I beat Mario plus Rabbids. Wish I'd beaten Bayonetta. Wish I had played God of War Ragnarok. Wish I'd somehow beaten Elden Ring, even though that game kicked my ass, but I loved it. But alas, I'm going to give you the top 5 games for me. Now, keep in mind, this is how I'm going to be structuring this, which is how I sort of usually do this with top 5s, where my top 5 through 2, basically, I'm gonna shuffle them, so you will not know the actual order of those. I'm just gonna tell you what those 4 are, but number 1, I'll tell you like this, like the number 1 is ordered, like this is my number 1, but the other ones you won't know. That way no one says like, oh, I don't know, this was number 2 to this was number 3. Like, that's how I avoid that shit. I just give you my thoughts, my opinions, no numbers, and that's the way I like to do it. So guys, without further ado, let's really get right into this. I wanted to give 3 honorable mentions right off the bat. First of all, I gotta give love to the Mario Kart DLC. That's been such a fun part of this year. In a time where we finally don't have Smash Bros DLC anymore, it's cool that the second biggest Nintendo thing, on Switch, besides Animal Crossing, is getting, new content with its stuff. So the DLC has been consistently fun to go back to. They're not ones that like keep me drawn in forever, but it's cool that they're there now, especially we have a full first row of new tracks. I think we're at 24 new tracks now, so living our best life with new Mario Kart tracks. Very happy about that. And I want to give another shout out to Cuphead, the delicious last course. This expansion was amazing. It was so much more well animated than the first one. It was definitely brutal as hell. Those streams really fucked me up, but I have good memories streaming it. It drove me insane, and that's what Cuphead should do. And the last honorable mention I want to give to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This game, it's so rare you get these, the modern beat 'em ups with gorgeous pixel art, and I love that. This gave me the feeling I had with Scott Pilgrim back in the day, because there's nothing that like better than when you have an IP you love and it gets one of these and it just feels so good. And the music by T. Lopes was incredible. Gameplay was so fun. It was one of those games where I replayed a bunch with different people. I just love my time with that. I thought it was a super fun game, and that team deserves the world. Now let's get right into it. The top 5 games of the year for me, in no order except for number 1. So let's start actually with one I think I'm gonna talk the least about, but weirdly enough in my top 5, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I know it's a very weird one. You wouldn't see that coming from me, but this game hooked me in, man. Like, I was someone who grew up watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And stopped after Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and I sort of just looked from the sidelines of seeing like, what's going on with these cards? Why are there white cards? Why are there these Turner cards? What's going on? And this game came out, and it simplified everything. It sort of streamlined the experience. I had my friends show me, what are the optimal decks to use, and even if I don't really know what I'm doing a lot of times with some of the new cards, I sort of just like go by memory of, oh, this does that and this does that, to just have a fun time. And I've done so many duels. I've spent an absurd amount of time playing this game this year, and I'm just really happy I had an excuse to go back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. It's something that was really an important part of my childhood, so I'm glad it came back. I'm glad this version of it exists. It's easy to play, between your different devices and stuff. So I don't know, just wanted to give like, I thought it would be weird if this game wasn't in my top 5, because I played it for like 100+ hours and I was so addicted to it. I'm so happy there's an excuse for me to be back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Next up, we gotta talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. All right, now Xenoblade Chronicles, man, let me tell you, bro, it's such an important series, to me, because I remember I played the original Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii back in the day. Remember liking it actually a lot more than I did the remake. But yeah, I ended up really loving Xenoblade as a series. Played Xenoblade 2. I did not play Xenoblade X, which is weird, but I love the mainline ones usually. But yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, let me tell you, wow, this game blew me away. I was worried, there was something about me that I don't know what it was about the hype cycle or about this game that made me think like, is this really gonna be what Xenoblade 2 was to me? And it ended up being better for me, honestly. I really adore Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think the cast of characters in that game carries so much. I think they are sort of, to me, they felt like the most mature versions, of Xenoblade characters since, 1. And I thought they just handled the characters so well. It's not a very lighthearted game. It's not a game where you have a lot of funny moments. You have some, sparks in there and charming moments with the cast, but I wouldn't call it like a funny time, or a very anime game, sort of like how Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is. I I just love how Xenoblade 3's characters stood out to me. I love the gameplay. It felt like the gameplay was so much more streamlined and explained well and everything. I felt like I figured out the systems way easier. There wasn't stuff that like stopped you from progressing, like field mastery skills or whatever. Like it felt like you unlocked everything naturally. There was these hero quests where you unlocked different characters, but they had like full-on stories with cutscenes and everything, and those were awesome. And man, like just seeing how the story unfolded with this was so messed up. They really took it in a unique and dark place. I don't want to spoil it here, but man, like the way they handled the worlds colliding and stuff like that from different games, not necessarily worlds colliding, but like, you know what I mean, like you get it if you've played it. But yeah, so I adored this game. I thought it was super well handled. I thought the gameplay was so fun. I love Noah, Mio, you know, Uni, what's it called, and just the whole gang, Senna of course, and just Nyora, and just that entire ending just messed me up completely. It's one of the few times I've ever cried at the end of a game, and if you know me, crying is a very rare occurrence, so that says a lot. Next up, Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, however you want to say it, but I say Arceus. Yeah, man, this game really took me by surprise, and you know, I didn't beat Scarlet and Violet, sadly, even though I was enjoying it, but I will say Pokemon Legends Arceus felt special to me, right? Because it felt like it was the first time we really had this open world Pokemon, or I guess open zone sort of for this game, and it felt so natural to just, you know, be an explorer, you know, in a Pokemon world for once, you know, where you're just going around, you find different Pokemon, you're sneaking in bushes, you're tossing a Pokeball at one and going to find another one. Like everything felt so streamlined. There was something so satisfying about, you know, tossing a Pokeball to catch a Pokemon while you run to another spot, engage in a Pokemon fight. You could run out of that fight if you didn't want to do it. You could swap between, you know, your different mounts of climbing and gliding and swimming and everything, and like it felt so natural to just explore the environment. And I think that game incentivized, you know, collecting the entire Pokedex so well, you know, just because it felt like it was the only thing you do in the game. So you were like, well, I might as well do this. So it was one of the only times I ever really sat down to collect the Pokedex, and I felt like I had such an authentic Pokemon experience in a way where like I was, you know, trading with people, you know, I was talking to friends about it, and I remember I streamed it, and I remember the ending was so cool. I loved how they handled like the Pokemon boss fights where you're sort of like dodge rolling. They felt like mini games sort of, and I don't know, man, I loved so much about this game. I thought they just handled the old school Pokemon really well, and it felt like such a breath of fresh air and a new style when we were starting to get a little stale with the series. This felt like it was the prelude to Scarlet and Violet, but I felt like it was a little more, you know, reined in, and I loved my time with it, man. Pokemon Legends Arceus, very special to me, and I genuinely hope, even though Scarlet and Violet are pretty much, you know, open world Pokemons, I hope this idea is explored more, where it is just, hey, you're in the past, things are different here, just explore and find Pokemon. Make it more Monster Hunter like each time. Next up, we have my boy Kirby and the Forgotten Land, bro. Damn, dude, this game, man, I cannot stress enough how much I genuinely adore this game. You know, Kirby is a series to me that's really important to me, actually. I think I've played like pretty much every Kirby game. It's one of the series where I never miss a release, and I haven't, you know, since probably like, you know, the GBA days maybe, and I felt like I was there the entire time through GBA, DS, consoles, you know, and everything. But yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land felt like that change we needed. I mean, it's crazy that this series took this long to actually transition to 3D, you know, besides stuff like Kirby's Air Ride or 3D Blowout Blast on 3DS. Like it's crazy that it took this long, but they did it so perfectly well, man. The game, I felt so good playing, and what I mean by that is it had the feel-good love of Kirby, it had the challenge of trying 100% everything. It was gorgeous. It threw so many inventive ideas at you. You know, I love the mouthful mode stuff. I love the new power-ups and the fact that you could upgrade them. You know, I love the bosses. I love everything about this game, especially the last, like the end game stuff of this is just some of the best in the series. I was so happy with how this game ended up turning out, and I had no doubt this game was going to be awesome because HAL Labs just doesn't disappoint. But man, I was so happy with it. I think they did an amazing job, and I wish they had done DLC for it just because I loved it so much. But I'm so happy that, you know, 3D Kirby is, you know, going to be a mainstay at least. I hope it's sort of like Sonic, you know, where you get 2D Kirbys and 3D Kirbys whenever you can. But man, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, one of my favorite experiences this year, and one of the most fun times I've had with a platformer in like a long time. Especially, you know, I feel like it's very rare nowadays we get proper 3D platformers that are really, really good. But when we do, it hits different. And of course, my number one, to no one's surprise, is Sonic Frontiers. I'm not even gonna spend too long on this, but I just want to say, man, Sonic Frontiers, I think for me, it almost goes beyond the game itself, you know, because when I think about it, right, and I think we all agree, like, the game has a lot of little nitpicks and issues, but overall, man, we had an ambitious, fun game. I'll never forget, you know, my entire stream through it, going through the Starfire Islands, doing all the challenges. I felt like I was constantly drawn into this game. Whenever I saw a challenge, I wanted to do it. Whenever I saw an enemy boss, I wanted to fight it. You know, whenever I saw a cyberspace level, I wanted to go to it and 100% it. You know, it's just, this game constantly drew me in. And whenever I saw the character dialogue stuff, I wanted to go talk to the characters because it felt rewarding to finally have a game that felt like it respected Sonic fans. And Sega really sat there and told me, like, hey, basically, we want to make something that the fans are gonna love. So from having Ian Flynn on the writing, which really showed, and having, you know, the characters sort of self-reflect on their life and what's been going on, to the cyberspace levels, to the Titan battles being, I think, the best thing that's ever happened to the series. I just adore so much about this game. You know, yeah, some of the end stuff is a little rushed. You know, yeah, there's a lot of nitpicks and little issues with the game, but overall, man, I got an experience that I loved, and I think I'm always going to associate this game with my growth here. You know, this is a little, you know, cheesy and personal, but I'm always going to associate Sonic Frontiers with the game that I covered here from start to finish. It was the first game I really was here to cover, you know, as a content creator. So thank you for everybody who joined me on that journey. Thank you to everybody who thanked me for hyping up the game and telling them, you know, that I got them into and everything. So that all means the world to me. And yeah, Sonic Frontiers for me will always be more than just a game. It'll be something that's really symbolic for my growth and everything. So I'll always have love and appreciation for this game. But yeah, those are my top 5 games of the year. Let me know what are your top 5 of the year, if you didn't have a top 5, or if you have a top 3, or what's just your game of the year. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's popping. And of course, guys, let's hope next year is a banger. We've got a ton of videos still lined up, you know, to talk about what's coming up next year. We got to talk about a bunch of stuff. So thank you all for watching. You are the best. And of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.